Yeah, it's about time we got some nice music here at KHTS 1220. Well, when I say nice music for our show called The Business of Life, Jim Piccirillo and a coach. Now, Jim Piccirillo, if you don't know the name yet, is maybe one of America's nicest, smartest, brightest
Clarita, just like
golfer in America.
I agree with all of that.
Would you
Absolutely,
agree with that?
yeah.
Is Mama listening today?
Did
Brenda listening?
Yeah, she wrote that for you, didn't she?
No.
Okay.
She would never write something
I know.
like that. So big shout out to you, Brenda. We're going to dedicate the show to Brenda Piccirillo today, who keeps Jim Piccirillo on a straight and even course. And big shout out to Michael and Katie. We have thousands of listeners here in Southern California on 1220. You can download us, and really, it's listen on your app. Go to 1220 a.m. in the App Store. Download it. Now you have KHTS all day long. Great shows. You can listen online. I know we have a lot of cubbyhole listeners like Brian Maki, who listens in his cubbyhole. Just go to hometownstation.com. Brian will be on with us. He was a listener that became a habitual listener to our show. Bugged us to come on. And finally we said, okay, we'll bring you on. And we like what he does, don't we?
He's a great guy. Got some great insights on how the business world works. Can't wait to talk to him in a little bit.
Well, one of his subjects, before we get into our subject, is how technology has changed job searching and hiring. So I'm really curious to find out what that's all about. But before we bring Brian Maki on, there's something that's bugging me, and I got to.
Gee, that's a surprise.
Yeah, something's bugging me.
What's in your crawl?
I'll tell you right now what's in my crawl is this health thing with Obamacare. Why we don't have one leader in Congress, not one leader in the Senate that can figure out tort reform that the legal profession is cost us hundreds of billions of dollars in these lawsuits where patients are getting $150-25 million for a toenail that wasn't cut properly. That's not right, Jim Piccirillo.
Well, I agree in theory, but that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Plus, look, most of Congress are lawyers, so, there's one reason. You don't vote against yourself.
Well, it's a club. That's another thing. You're right. You're making a good point. It's a club, and I'm sick and tired.
What's a club you and I aren't getting in? I'll tell you that much.
No, I'm a voter, and our local Congress guy, I've called his office 3 times. You think they would call me back once?
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah. Well,
so where's our representation?
I don't know.
And they know I'm on radio.
I know. Well,
And I write books, and I have somewhat of a following. I've got like 5 people following.
Well, if you can't talk to him, think about the average regular guy that doesn't even have a platform to get on the radio and say things like that. So,
you got any guts, Steve Knight? Call into the station right now. Where do you think he is?
That's a direct challenge.
Yeah, it's a direct challenge.
Yeah.
Where do you he's having a cocktail somewhere in Washington.
I guarantee he's not in the Valley right now listening to us.
No, he's in Washington D.C. doing something.
But anyway, what's on your mind today? Why are you so upset?
Well, I'm upset because you and I are simpletons. We are practical people.
Wait a minute. In the intro, you said I was one of the smartest guys you know. Now I'm a simpleton?
I might have been exaggerating a little bit. But, I mean, if we can figure out... So if the legal profession, the legal lobbyists are the biggest lobbyists in Washington besides automotive, what else? Coal.
Pharmaceuticals.
Coal. What else?
Defense.
Yeah. I mean, we could fix this thing overnight. Drug cost. The pharmaceutical, why is my own doctor, I won't mention his name, says to my wife and to me, buy your pharmaceuticals in Canada. In Canada.
Right.
So my wife is doing it. I'm not. I'm a loyal.
So you can mail order right across the border and get it for a lot less money.
I'm a loyal American citizen.
Drugs and pharmaceuticals. It's a capitalist society. As long as it's a for-profit.
I love overpaying, even for my medication.
Well, you're in the right country.
Yeah, but I mean, why are the drugs 50% less in Canada? Why? Same company.
Well, it's.
You want to know what's bothering me? I'm telling you what's bothering me.
Well, I agree. Believe me, I think everybody our age anyway, or getting close to our age, is worried about the same thing. Prescription drugs are out of control. Healthcare in general is out of control. Costs a lot of money. That's why you have this vote today on Capitol Hill. You saw what went on this morning. John McCain gets up and gets off his deathbed almost to come into the Capitol to vote this morning. It looks like they were able to pass this thing to at least take it to another vote.
We're done. Where's the applause for that first segment. Is there any applause?
One hand clapping in the
Now, we
wind.
got an audience. We should have applause. All right, coming on now. This is an important, if you're driving, you might want to pull over to the side of the road because this is an important segment. You might learn something here on the show we call The Business of Life. Jim Piccirillo and the coach, soon to go national, will be on hundreds of stations soon. I don't know how soon, but soon. So his name is Brian Maki, and you and I know Brian very well because he's one of our golf buddies.
Yep.
He's a professional gambler,
Yes, sir.
and he's also a smart.
true.
No, not true. He's not. Okay. Does he love the IRS like we do?
Yes.
He does. Okay.
He's a tax-paying citizen.
The name of your company, Brian. Well, first of all, welcome to KHTS 1220 AM.
Coach, thank you very much for inviting me.
The name of your you're a local businessman, right?
Absolutely. Here in Valencia, SB Solutions.
SB Solutions. What does SB Solutions do?
We are a recruiting and consulting firm that focuses on national recruitment in a variety of different vertical markets.
What did he just say, Jim?
I don't know. It sounded good. Maybe that's why I don't have a job.
What did he just say? So
Quite-
you help people find careers, basically, right?
We help companies find candidates that fit the roles that they have available.
Okay, so if I ran a company, I hire SB Solutions, and you go, I don't have time, I wouldn't even know how to find the right CFO, or you hire executives or regular people too?
We work at the C-level, VP level, and director level typically.
Oh. Can you find me I'd love to get a director's gig. Because directors
We'll,
get...
we'll talk about that.
No, I'd
Coach.
love to get a director's gig where they get paid, what, 10 grand a meeting? Huh?
No, Jim is actually the director.
There you go.
You're not going to be impinging upon
Right.
Jim's
Please don't be
space.
taking my money out of my pocket.
No, absolutely not.
All right, let's get into the weeds a little bit. So, how does technology today change this job searching and hiring? How does it do it?
Well, I think one of the big challenges for candidates today is how do I find the job that I want? How do I pursue a career that I want? You have, in the old days, job boards. So companies would go out and they would post a job on a job board. And supposedly candidates would just flow in. The perfect candidate would submit their resume, perfect skills. The company interviews those candidates, and next thing you know, they have a happy hire. But the reality of that is there's a ton of breakage that happens in hiring and recruitment. Technology doesn't solve that. Technology, you've got job boards, you've got LinkedIn, you have social media, you have Twitter, you have all of this confluence of technologies that companies are pouring into trying to solve the hiring issues. They're just tools. The problem is you need people to manage those processes, to take those candidates from raw data to onboarding a great candidate to fill a job. The technology doesn't do that. And so that's where us as recruiters, that's where we fit into the puzzle. Technology doesn't solve hiring issues. They're merely tools and resources.
Do you meet the candidate in person? Do you go to their office or they come to your office?
It 100% depends on where the search is being conducted. If we're conducting a search locally, yes. More often than not, a majority of the candidates that we place, we have met through the internet. We've met online.
Large
we've
companies,
Skyped.
it's a nationwide search. They want, the highest qualified candidate they can find. You probably won't find that always locally, so you got to go nationwide or even out of the country.
We placed a Germany country manager
Yeah.
with one of our clients in the power conditioning space. So obviously, we didn't fly to Germany to go and interview that guy, but we met him multiple times by applying our recruitment process to determine that he was the best guy, and they flew two people back to my client's headquarters, and they met them directly.
So let me a bunch of questions. So if you're not meeting the candidate physically, do you get a video of the candidate so at least you see or hear what they look like or how they present themselves? So if I was looking for a top-notch job like Mr. Piccirillo has, would you recommend that I do a video myself and send it to you?
It's interesting that you bring that up, Coach. There's a lot of companies that are trying to use video interviewing as another potential technology tool. but it hasn't ever taken off. And interestingly, I've done video interviewing with clients before, and the difficulty is there's a delay, or many of the services, they will post canned questions that the client develops. The candidate is asked those questions. They respond. They're being videoed.
It's like video dating. You're just uncomfortable.
It's very awkward. It's not interactive. It's not. It is not.
It's not a
taken off.
conversation.
It's not taken
This
off.
is your expertise. Why don't you and I form a company right now and offer this?
Well, he's telling us that doesn't necessarily work. So why would we want to?
I want to see what the candidate. When I was in the hiring, I used to follow them out to the car. I wanted to see if there's smoke. I wanted to see if their car was messy. I wanted to see if their car was washed. I mean, there's a lot of human.
Well, they Ubered here, so.
There's a lot of human little touches.
Yeah, but I think what they do is they filter out all of that. Eventually, obviously, they meet the candidate, they see the guy, but there's so much. Companies don't have time to do all that anymore. Am I correct? Or I mean, my question would be, why don't companies just do this themselves anymore? You used to just walk in and put an application in at Human Resources, and away you went, right?
The fact of the matter is, in today's economy, more and more companies are bolstering their internal talent acquisition teams. So they're scouring the internet. They're posting jobs on LinkedIn. They're sucking in this great candidate database. Can they do it themselves? Absolutely. The bigger companies are trying to do that. The challenge is that we go after passive candidates. So what they're getting is they're getting active candidates that are actively looking for a job. They're not necessarily getting the candidates that need to be enticed to consider a change. So as a recruiter, what we do is we talk to individuals that are successfully doing that job at XYZ company. They love what they're doing.
So they're already well employed. I love your lines.
Absolutely.
Talent acquisition.
Is that where the word headhunter came from? Is that kind of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Is
absolutely.
that a derogatory term in your business?
It's not at all. I think we accept headhunting. Neither my partner or myself are spear carrying. We don't eat our young. We do none of that. Well, actually, we've eaten some of
Yeah,
it, but
okay.
that's neither here or there.
But I love some of your phrases. Talent acquisition team. We're talking to Brian Maki, owns a company right here in Santa Clarita, SB Solutions Inc. So if you're an employer and you're looking for a certain kind of a candidate, apparently you've been doing this most of your life, so you know what you're doing here.
Scarily, about 30 years,
Yeah.
Coach. And so actually, many of my clients actually have tried to cut into my arm and they count the rings. I was carbon 14 tested by one of my clients actually a couple of weeks ago. And so, yes,
That means he's
slowly,
old. He's been doing it a while.
I'm slowly
All right, so
learning the ropes.
you
Coach.
still haven't answered my question. You listen to the Business Live, Jim Piccirillo and the coach, dedicating the show to Brenda Piccirillo, who's the boss. And anyway, technology. So when I think of technology, I think of robots. I know that resumes are, when they're sent to big companies, they go through like a robot sorter, and they're looking for keywords like Eagle Scout. I wouldn't, if I did a resume, I'd have to lie because I wasn't an Eagle Scout. I was a jock that barely got through school. How would you, Jim Piccirillo, ever get a resume, anybody look at it either?
Well, I did okay. I went to college, had a college degree. I mean, I went through the same process.
Where'd you go to, Marshall?
I did.
Oh, yeah, we're looking for Marshall University
But
graduates.
you got a good point because things are totally different now. Like when I got a job, you walked your resume physically into 40 companies. It's a totally different world out there now, like you said, the way the job search things work, the way you go online and everything's all collaborated together. You ever notice you type in one name and 50 companies come up with the same job? So LinkedIn, look at LinkedIn.
It's very interesting. On the candidate side, one of the complaints that I constantly hear is that, I'm a great guy or gal and I've sent my resume out to feel like I've sent out 100 resumes and it goes into the black hole that nobody ever responds. Well, on the corporate side, which is kind of how we work, there's a zillion reasons why those companies didn't respond to that resume. Your point, case in point. Resume didn't actually fit the job.
Yeah.
The other thing is that candidates that are actively looking for jobs are screener inners. Okay, so here's a little tip. The job description that you see online is the holy grail. Read the job description. Read it accurately.
Yep.
Look at your own background and experience. Do you fit that profile?
Right.
And if you don't, odds are they're not going to respond to your resume. Simple as that.
Do they read every resume?
Absolutely.
Do they just read the job description to see if you fit that, or do you get tossed out instantly, or what?
You know,
what's the sorting process?
Back to technology, without question. Keyword searching, they can filter that through their applicant tracking system or CRM, and that shortlist group of candidates probably is the candidate group that will actually be looked at by a human being. Okay? So a tip in terms of you, Jim Piccirillo, submitting your resume for that new director gig over at Pick Your Network,
Yep.
is look at the job description of the position that you're responding to. What are the keywords in that? What are the specific things that that client is looking for in
Right.
that role? Make certain that you cover those specific things
Right.
on your resume, because the first person, the bigger the company you submit your resume to, the first person that screens that resume almost guarantees knows absolutely nothing about the job that you're responding to, because
Right.
that individual might be responsible for 30 different functional roles in that company.
Yeah.
But it's the HR, and I did a show here on fabulous award-winning KHTS 1220 AM for a year called, what was it called? It was called...
Short-lived.
Yeah, it was a short... No, we did it for a long time. Oh, I am a senior moment here.
It was a great show, regardless of
Very
what it was
successful,
called.
yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
How funny. It'll come back to me. I went blank here for a second.
Let me ask something really quick. So I always look at, like, how do young people right now know what to do? How do they get in there? Are they going to Google all those words and put it in their resume? How does someone like me, if I wanted to re-enter the job market at a later age, how do you know what to do?
Okay, so two things. In the zillions of years that I've been in the recruitment industry, I've learned a few altruisms. After interviewing thousands of people, what I've found is there's only a handful of professionals that had an absolute vision of exactly what they wanted to do for a living. You've got attorneys, professional athletes. I always wanted to be a cowboy, but I didn't do that. You got gene sequencing scientists, proctologists. Okay, so they get out of school and they go, I want to be a proctologist. So they get
I think
their
their
degree.
mom picked that job. Go ahead.
There you go. Well, in your case,
son, the doctor.
In your case, you wanted to be an underwear model, but
Yeah,
that's neither
yeah.
here or there. But then there's
Cody, can you strike that from the show, even though it's live somehow? Jim
that's
was
awkward.
a,
I know that's
it's
awkward.
awkward because he was a Chippendale dancer, and I don't think that's fair to attack him because of his underwear.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But the challenge is this. So very few people actually have a plan of where they want to go in their career. Then there's the rest of us. So a lot of the people that I've interviewed have 30 years of experience, and one day they wake up and they're brushing their teeth and look at themselves in the mirror and they go, oh my God, I hate what I'm doing. How the heck did I get here? And I tell you, David Byrne from the Talking Heads said it best. This is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house. How did I get here?
Right on.
And so there you have it.
The show, how do you have it? I mean, isn't this most of America that I wanted to play for the Dodgers, never worked out. So we're all looking for the deal where the grass is a little greener, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people these days anyway, like especially if you're just out of college, you're just throwing it out there everywhere, hoping to land anywhere. It is not even a dream job. It's just a job. If I got in any company, I'm going to be happy. And then you hope you can stick with it for a while.
The challenge is this. I make a key point, and I talked with Michael about this. It's the first one or two jobs that you take when you get out of school that put you on a track. And here's the deal. So you get a job, you're a sales rep selling copiers, okay? So you take another job, and guess what? It's a sales job. Next job from there, it's a little better sales job, making a little more money. So you end up, it puts you on this track.
You're a sales guy.
What happens is that 10 years down the road, you can't afford to make a career change because you're driven by the almighty dollar. You know, you're used to making $50, $70, $100,000 a year. Guess what? You can't make a career shift and go,
That's right.
You know what? I really want to direct. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take a 50% cut in pay
right.
and go and take a job at
The radio,
radio station,
Your dream
because
job's
it's-
only paying 20 grand, but you
Right.
as a sales guy, you're making 75 grand.
absolutely.
Driving a new car, paying the car payment, the house
So-
payment, the rent. you know?
Absolutely, Jim. So, Coach and Jim, the point is this: those first 1 or 2 jobs are so critical because it sets you on a path. So if you bring this up on many of your shows, the gig economy. So I have a balanced view of the concept of the gig economy.
We're going to take a break. The show is called The Business Life. Very interesting subject today. We're talking to a true expert. He's right here in Santa Clarita. He's the CEO of SB Solutions. So if you're a company and you don't have the time, you don't have the background, you don't have the inclination, you don't even know where to start, Brian Maki is a great guy to call. When we get back from break, I want to flip it over because we have a lot of people listening, just what you said earlier, that would love to change their careers. So where do you go with that? Stay tuned. We're going to come right back. Jim Piccirillo and the coach. The show is called The Business Life. You can listen on hometownstation.com or download the app in the App Store. Just go to the App Store and put in KHTS 1220 AM. The show that I couldn't remember was called Job Talk 1. I did it for a year. And anyway, big shout out to you, Tommy Cairns, if you're listening. Be right back on the show we call The Business Life.